What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This video we're going to continue working on the Photoshop menus, and we're on the select menu. Now the select menu is one of the more special menus. It's got a lot of stuff you can do in it, and if you master this, you're going to be able to get some of the best selections in Photoshop. Before we get into it though, if you're new to the channel and these videos help you out, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on them post notifications. Also, I'm going to put timestamps for each command in the description below, so you can skip through if you know certain things and just watch the stuff that you need to learn. And then one last thing to know before we get started, everything that's in this select menu is going to either, one, make a selection, or two, do something to an already active selection. Alright, so let's start off with all. If you click select all, it's going to select everything visible on whatever layer you have selected. So I have this image layer. It's going to select the borders of that layer. Deselect obviously clears any active selections that you have. Reselect will obviously just reset a selection you just undid. And then inverse, you have to have an active selection for this to work. So let me do this. If I just have this selected here, so if I make a copy, that's what's selected. Now if I come back to this selection and click inverse and make a copy, you can see it selected everything except what was in there. Alright, next section we got, this has to do with layers. So everything that's being selected is going to be a layer being selected, not something on the canvas. So first, all layers, obviously it's going to select every layer that you have. Deselect layers is going to deselect every layer that you had selected. Find layers, all this does is brings you to the layers panel anyway, to this box where you can filter by layer name, or you can click here and choose one of these options. After that we got isolate layers, and when we click this, it only shows whatever layers we had selected at the time. If you want to get back, you can just click this and go back to name. Next section, all these are going to make a selection on your image that's on the canvas. So first is color range. And this is honestly one of the best selection tools in Photoshop. You can choose what color to target. You can target reds, yellows, greens, cyans, blues, magentas, or you can target highlights, midtones, or shadows, and even skin tones. But what I like to do is just do sampled colors. This means you're going to use the eyedropper to click on your image and sample what colors you want to select. Alright, so you got a fuzziness and a range slider, but what you want to do first is just have this eyedropper selected, and then just click on what color tone you want to select. Then you can come back here and click this plus button and drag. Okay, you just click and drag. You can undo if you get a color tone that you didn't want. But I'm just sampling all around, getting what colors I want. Right? And then when you're done with your selection, you just click OK. And then you can see if I cut it out, make a copy, this is everything that got selected. This is a really nice selection. You can see it got pretty in detail with these bricks. So we could change the color or the hue of all this and it'll look pretty realistic because we have such a good selection. Next we got focus area, and I'm going to use a different picture for this one because the bird is in our focus area, right? So make sure your layer is selected over here, and then do select focus area. It's going to bring up this panel. This is your view mode. This is what type of overlay you want. You can switch between them and see where your selection is. You can see it's cutting into the body right here, but we can tune all that in here. Just tune the parameters till it looks like you got something that you want. And then you can add or subtract from the selection right here with these tools. Then what you do is choose what you want the output to be. So if you want it to be a selection, or you can choose one of these other options. You can make it its own new layer, new document, layer mask, whatever. And last but not least, something that's a very powerful trick in here, you can go to select and mask after that. And then you can tune all these settings to get the best selection possible. When you're done, click OK. And then you've selected the focus area. Next, we got subject. And this is kind of like focus area. It's going to select the subject of the image. So, same thing. And this one doesn't have a window that pops up with settings you can change, but you can still pick select and mask after and come and fine tune your selection. And last in this section, we got sky. And obviously this is just going to select your sky. Same as select subject, it doesn't have a window that pops up with more options to change, but you can also select and mask up here. After that, I already showed you what select and mask is, but you can get to it from this menu also. You can do this before you have an active selection, or you can do it after you've made a selection already, like a rough selection. Once you click it, this is the window that pops up. I'm just going to do a rough selection here. Then on the left, you got your tools. You got quick selection tool, refine edge brush. This is really good for cleaning up fringe and hair. Then you got the regular brush tool, object selection tool, lasso with the polygonal lasso tool also. And then you got the hand and zoom tool. Then on the right hand side, you got your view mode, which shows different overlays, and you can see how your selection's doing. You can look black on white. This is really good for edges. And you just play around with these and you can get a better idea of what you actually have selected. Then down here is some presets. You can save them, load them, and add custom ones. You can remember whatever settings you've added. Then for refine mode, you can either do object aware or color aware. So you can toggle between each one and see what's better. Then you got your sliders. You got edge detection, smooth feather contrast, and shift edge. You can also clear your selection or invert it. And last but not least, you got the output settings where you can decontaminate colors and choose what you're outputting to. What I like to usually do is do a new layer with a mask. Click OK. And you can see it added this new layer with the mask of our selection. Alright, next we got modify. And everything in this section is going to be editing in active selection. So you have to already have a selection made. And they each do a little bit different thing. So border, you click it, you can choose a width. When you click OK, it's going to add another selection. So it's a border of whatever you had selected. Next, we got smooth. And this just exactly what it says, smooths it out. You can tune the sample radius. Click OK. This is good for getting rid of those little jagged parts of the selection. Then we got expand and contract. Expand just makes it bigger, and contract contracts it and makes it smaller. You can see here you can expand by a certain amount of pixels and it got bigger, and vice versa, contract, it gets smaller. And last but not least, we got feather right here, and you can choose the radius, and it's kind of like smooth but a little different. It's going to cut into your selection a little more the more pixel radius you have. Next section we got is grow and similar section. Grow just finds the pixels similar in color to what's already selected, and similar works kind of like grow but different. So if I were to select this orange right here, let's clear everything. If I were to select this and then I clicked select grow, you can see it selected more tones of that color. If I undo that and click select similar, it picked a lot more color. Next we got transform selection, and this, if you know what transforming is, it just brings up the transform bounding box, and you can change the reference point. If you want to rotate it, it rotates off of where that reference point is. And remember, we're only working with the selection. It's not going to change the image. You can make it bigger or smaller, scale it. You can hold control and skew it, or shift, and you just transform it how you want. Also, you can click this button up here to switch and go to a warp mode. And you guys should really check out the edit menu video that I made, because I break down warp and transform really good in those. But basically it's two different types of bending and molding the selection. So warp here, you can see you get a lot more customization with it. You can mess with the handles and the anchor points. You can also turn on a grid and mess with each anchor point inside of it. You can add more sections and really get in depth with how you're warping it. When you're done, you just click OK, check mark, and it's warped the selection. Edit in quick mask mode. Quick mask just pretty much has a red overlay, and whatever's red is not selected. And you can come with the brush and paint on here and select more or less. I never really use quick mask mode. You can get there by clicking this icon also down here. It'll switch between standard and quick mask. And then the last three down here, they're pretty self-explanatory. 1, you can load a saved selection. 2, you can save an active selection if you want it later on. And 3, it's just going to take whatever you have selected and make a 3D extrusion. Extrusion just means it like pushes it back and makes it into a 3D object, just like this here. So that's the select menu in Photoshop, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helps you learn something new. And if it did, don't forget to subscribe, smash that like button, turn on them post notifications. It really helps out the channel. With that, thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.